So the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 just actually ended up coming out, so let's go and see how it holds up against the iPad 10th generation and see which specific tablet is a better one for you. Now, if you're in the market, I would probably recommend you to buy the one that you're more familiar with from the software perspective. So iPads hold iPadOS, Galaxy Tabs hold Android, so it's kind of completely up to you, but there's definitely pros and cons between both. But if you're coming from a clean slate, hopefully this video will kind of make a little bit of sense to you. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these links will be down in the description to purchase them. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these tablets, the iPad 10 on the front has a 10.9-inch liquid retina IPS LCD panel on the front. It gets 500 nits of brightness, and it's a good panel. It's fairly high resolution, and I think it's a good panel. You know, there's not a crazy amount of bezel on this thing, but it is a little bit, and you're still getting a fingerprint sensor on the top, and it's a good display. It's a good device. You know, I like it a lot. With the Galaxy Tab S9, this is a little bit of a different story. So you are getting an extremely better panel on the Galaxy Tab S9 than on the iPad 10. So you're getting an 11-inch dynamic AMOLED display on the Galaxy Tab S9, and it is a really good panel, 120 Hz on that display as well. It is by far one of the better panels I've seen, and it is a really good display. I like it a lot, and like I said, it is a better panel overall than my iPad 10. So as much as I hate to say it, I don't even hate to say it, it's true. The iPad 10's display is good, but the Galaxy Tab S9's display is so much better. Now, on the bottom of both these, you are getting USB-C ports, which is really cool. I would probably say though that the Tab S9's USB-C port is a little bit more functional, just because you do have like Samsung DeX, which in and of itself is an amazing feature. The iPad 10 doesn't really have that. So it has like, you can display it out, but it's not going to be like its own operating system, via the monitor. On the back though, you are getting a little bit of a different setup between both. So you're getting single camera setups in the top left corner. You're getting their logos and everything in the center, or in the top left on the Galaxy Tab S9. But one weird thing with the iPad 10 is that it supports a stylus, which is amazing, but it's Apple Pencil 1. You have to buy a dongle in order for the iPad 10 to even support its specific Apple Pencil, which is really annoying. The Galaxy Tab S9's S Pen is not the case. It basically sits in the back, just like this one, and it basically wirelessly charges and it connects as it normally would. It's very similar to an iPad 2nd generation. In fact, I actually think how Apple made the Apple Pencil 2nd generation is actually a really good Apple Pencil. It's a really good stylus. It connects to the top, and I actually like that over the Tab S9's, which connects to the, basically the back of the tablet. I actually prefer the Tab S9. I actually prefer the Apple Pencil 2 in this specific case, but I do think it's a really, really weird thing that Apple did here, and I really hope they end up changing in the future, but again, they're not going to. But in this specific case, I will say the iPad 10 probably feels good in the hand, and it's definitely, I think, feels definitely a little bit more premium, I would say, than the Tab S9, but the Tab S9 just has so many features, has so many cool things going for it, and even the microSD card slot on the Tab S9 is a really cool thing. The iPad 10 does not have any like expandable storage like that. You can always install a hard drive or SSD on both of them via like the USB-C port at the bottom and connect it, but for expandable storage, the Tab S9 wins there too. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now from the camera perspective, this is another difference as well. So you are getting a 12 megapixel camera sensor on the back of the iPad 10, where the Tab S9 has a 13 megapixel camera. On the front, also a little bit of a difference. You're getting 12 megapixel ultra-wide cameras on the front, but a slight difference in the filming resolution. 1080p at 60 on the front of the iPad 10, 4K at 60 on the front of the Tab S9. So you are getting a higher quality lens from the Tab S9, which in and of itself is a really cool thing. But I still think that iPad 10's camera is still very good. I've had really, really good times with the Tab S9, and I've had an amazing time with the iPad 10 camera as well. But I would say that the Tab S9's camera is definitely it's definitely better than the iPad 10, but it's still not as good as like the phones that we have nowadays. And I say that to say both these tablets probably don't even have as good of a camera as the phone that you have in your pocket right now. So it doesn't even make that much sense to go and buy something for these tablets just based off the camera, because you're probably never going to be using the cameras on these tablets at all. So keep that in mind, but other than that, that kind of covers it up there too. Now, in terms of the software longevity, I would probably go as far to say that the iPad 10 is probably going to be giving you an overall better software experience, software longevity, than the Tab S9. I feel like you're going to be getting more software updates on the iPad 10 and longer software updates on longer supported software on the iPad 10 on the Galaxy Tab S9. That's just one of those things to kind of keep in mind. I don't know if it's the end of the world or anything, but that has been basically the main thing I've kind of thought about with the iPad 10, is you're going to be getting an iPad that lasts probably a little bit longer, not like an insane amount, but noticeably a longer amount than the Tab S9. But I still feel like with the Tab S9, you are getting a very good supported tablet. This is a device that's still going to be here for a long period of time. And once again, like I mentioned before, I'm a massive fan of the Tab series, and I'm still happy with the software updates, and I feel like you are actually getting more features built within the Tab S9 than on the iPad in this specific case, which is pretty insane. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there too. In terms of performance, a slight difference in the performance here, because with the iPad 10, this thing has a little bit of an older chipset compared to what the Tab S9 has. So with the iPad 10, we have the Apple A14 Bionic chip inside with 4GB of RAM. With the Tab S9, we have that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8GB of RAM on the base model, but it also goes up to 12GB of RAM. And this is a really big difference here. Like, you are getting a way better device, performance overall from something like the, iPad 10 in this case, than from something like the Tab S9 in this case, than from something like the iPad 10. And this is something that we've seen time and time again, which is not a problem. It's a really, really good thing. When you're getting, a more expensive tablet, or you're getting a device that has more power, you're going to be getting a better experience overall from that type of tablet, which I think is good. But I still feel like the iPad 10 is still a very fast performing tablet. This thing has a lot of power built in, has a lot of performance built in as well. And for the price and for the quality of the tablet and everything, I think it's good. But I also am kind of hesitant as to why Apple kind of made the iPad 10. Like, I feel like it was only a slight improvement from the iPad 9. And I feel like with this one, like, everything is still good. It's still a very good performing iPad. It has the same chipset as like an iPhone 12 Pro, kind of. It has a good amount of RAM. It's basically like an iPhone 12, but in tablet form, which I'm not complaining about. But when I look at something like the Tab S9, you're definitely getting a way better chipset and a way better kind of amount of RAM on the Tab S9. So that's always been something to kind of keep in mind there. But I would still say both tablets are great, but the Tab S9 probably kind of wins in the performance perspective. Now, also from the battery life perspective, you are getting an overall bigger battery on the Tab S9, 7,605 mAh on the iPad 10, 8,400 on the Tab S9. So kind of a slight difference there too. But like I said, you are getting the overall better performing battery life probably from the Tab S9 than the iPad 10 in this specific case as well. So to kind of sum up this entire video, what I'll definitely tell you, both of these tablets are good, and it really comes down to which one you prefer in terms of like the ecosystem and everything. But if it's a clean slate, I would look at the Tab S9. If you have all the money in the world, I would look at the Tab S9 as probably being that tablet that probably has more bang for your buck and is a more powerful tablet overall. If you want to wait a couple of months until the Tab S9 is cheaper in the used market, go for it. But I would probably say the Tab S9 probably has more capability on paper than the iPad 10. Not even on paper. I feel like the Tab S9 is the better tablet for sure. And that's something that I actually do like about the Tab S9. With the iPad 10, this is a little bit of a different story, because I would personally just recommend buying something like an iPad Air 4 or an iPad Air 5 in the used market rather than buying an iPad 10. I just feel like this one was like a missed shot from Apple, and you're probably better off buying something like an older iPad Air or an older iPad Pro than buying this particular iPad 10. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.